We've talked about Bryan Fischer saying a lot of really weird things that don't make sense. Of course, Bryan Fischer from the American Family Association. He hosts his anti-gay show called Focal Point. He's been a guest on this program many times. He actually made a comment that makes a lot of sense if, and I'm going to play it for you, when he talks about unconfessed sin, simply replace that with repressed trauma or unresolved issues. Okay, take a look at this.
And that's why I think it's always important when you're praying for someone to be healed, that there be an opportunity in that process for the individual to have an opportunity to confess before the Lord any sins that he has committed. There can be a connection between sin and sickness. And if the sin's not dealt with through confession, God stands ready to forgive. But because of the connection between sin and sickness, unconfessed sin can lead to physical sickness. And the only cure for that is to confess that sin to God. And therefore, James says, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed. So this is really preventive medicine here. It says you want to be healed, you want to be physically strong, then pray for one another and confess your sins to one another. Again, because concealed sin, unconfessed sin, that can cause physical illness.
Think about that, Lewis. Bryan Fischer is making a really good point, except for the fact that he's talking about sin. If you think about the number of people who have real physical symptoms, headaches, anxiety, back pain, all sorts of symptoms, which are really just coming from the fact that they have either anger or trauma, which they're holding inside, or other unmanaged, unexpressed issues. He's actually right. Psychological issues, emotional issues can cause countless physical symptoms. The problem is he's turning it into something else, saying that, hey, if you're secretly gay or if you've been having anal sex with a dude or something like that and you don't tell someone, that can cause physical issues because it is a sin. It's so close to actually being the type of comment that could help people. It really is. But just those couple of words, the fact that he's calling it unconfessed sin instead of repressed trauma, is really making it actually damaging instead of helpful.
And I feel bad for the people who believe what he's saying, because sometimes I'm sure these can coincide with each other. Let's say you, murdered someone. Clearly, that would be considered a sin.
But are you using the term sin? The reason I don't want to use the term sin is because it's more of a biblical, hypothetical thing. So you're saying misdeeds or things that you've done that aren't moral or something like that, right? I mean, if we can remove, murder can be a religious sin, but it's also just a bad thing to do in society, right? So
I just mean what a religious person would consider a sin or what he would consider a sin.
Gotcha.
So you murder someone. I mean, that could have some serious psychological impact on you. You could be suffering from that for a very long time. And if you are religious, you could think that, well, maybe if I confess this, I won't have these ailments anymore because of what Bryan Fischer said.
Let's take it even a step further. You could experience psychosomatic illness that is real physical symptoms, even if you guilt yourself or someone else guilts you into believing you are sinful. Even the belief, you could be traumatized by being told you are sinning, and that could cause physical symptoms. So again, Bryan Fischer, completely off on what he's saying here, but very, very close to actually saying something that could be useful to a lot of people. And the idea that people are suffering physically because they think they have been sinful is definitely sad, as it is that people have physical symptoms because of all sorts of emotional issues that they're having. Sad. Bryan Fischer he was very close to making a good point there, but sadly it didn't happen.
Yeah, pretty much. But like I said, I mean, there are people who are going to mistake what could be PTSD or something of that nature for sin. And then, when they go to confess, it's not really helping them, is it?
No, it's certainly not. Let's take a break. DavidPakman.com/NYC is the membership special. Get a free t-shirt with a yearly membership. We'll take a break. Professor and economist Richard Wolff is coming up next. Stay with us.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.